All right, we are officially live, Orly. Are you excited for today's event?
I am totally excited and ready to go.
I love it. Well, I just want to say welcome, everyone. We are actually on season 3 of Monday Night Coaching, and this is our third episode. And we have a very special topic that we're discussing this evening. It's how to stand out in a 5-second world. But before we dive into today's topic, I would love the opportunity for you guys to get to know our very special guest. Orly, would you like to introduce yourself? And as she's introducing herself, everyone make sure you use that QR code to connect with her if you're not connected already.
Thank you so much, Amalia. I am happy to be here, and thanks again for inviting me. So, my name is Orly Zeewy. I'm an author, speaker, educator, and a facilitator of light bulb moments. I have one superpower: I make fuzzy clear. That's my main superpower. And the way that shakes out is I help startup founders and business owners clarify and communicate their zone of genius so they can attract more of their ideal clients and scale faster. I'm the author of the book Ready Launch Brand, the Lean Marketing Guide for Startup, which was published by Routledge in May of 2021. It was the #1 new business book release on Amazon in April of 2021 and was endorsed by Seth Godin. My second book is the one I'm working on now, and that is called Why Not Me? The Female Guide for Entrepreneurship. And that book will be published later this year.
I love
So,
it.
yeah,
Yeah. Perfect.
go
Well,
ahead.
the cool thing is we already have a few people tuning in live. So I would say if you are tuning in live, be sure to comment so we can give you a special shout out. I'm going to take a moment and say, welcome, Leslie. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. And then I also see Jay. And then we also have a very special guest behind the stage with us. And we have Robert Kennedy III that will be joining us soon. So I'm excited about today's topic. And also, to Orly, I did post on your event page as well as mine the link for them to connect with you. So this is going to be a great
Great.
event. All
Wonderful. Thank you.
right. All right. So let's actually dive into our first question. Now, our topic is what does, like, really how to stand out in a 5-second world. But when you hear that, a lot of people don't really know what that means. So, my question to you is what does a 5-second world mean?
Well, let me back up first by setting the stage here, if you will. You have to understand that we are being messaged at the rate of roughly 12,000 messages a day, which translates to more than 4 million a year. Imagine it's as if each of us is standing in the middle of Times Square, hoping to cut through the noise so that our clients can find us. And I use the image of Times Square specifically because it is recognized as the kind of the messaging center where if you were to stand in the middle of Times Square, you would literally be surrounded by something like 300 messages. And the ones that you connect with are the ones that have any meaning to you. So out of those almost 300 messages, maybe you would see 3 and maybe you'd remember 1. If you're lucky, maybe you'd remember 1. And so as the number of messages has increased, our attention span has decreased. In 2000, the average adult attention span was 12 seconds. Today, it's 8 seconds. And the reason I'm saying the 5-second world, because we're on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, the average visitor on LinkedIn spends roughly 5 seconds on the top part of your profile before they decide whether or not to keep scrolling or leave. And that's really kind of the piece that I'm especially interested in because there's definitely there are things that you can do to keep people scrolling. And unfortunately, many of the profiles I've looked at, have a tendency to stop the scroll, and that's really the opposite of what you want.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to actually bring on stage with us Robert and to see if he have anything he would like to add to that question. Uh-oh, Robert is not letting me bring you on stage. I wonder why.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, maybe now. Oh, you know what? I feel like because we had a few other people joining us on stage. So let me try to let everyone on. I see we have Barbara. Hi, Barbara Ann. Thank you so much for joining us. And here is Robert. So I want to bring back the question. Uh-oh, someone's got music
Let's
going.
go. Hey, how
That
you
is your
doing?
theme music, Robert.
Huh?
I say you come with your own theme music. I love
That's how
it.
you got to do this thing. So that is my response
Well, thank you.
to Orly's answer.
I
Especially
love
when
it.
you lose some of your senses, right? When you don't have the visual, how do you create a pattern disrupt? How do you create a memory? How do you set things up so that people will pay attention for more than 5 seconds? If people are talking and then Robert brings theme music, like, oh, okay, what's that? Okay, now I've got permission. I've got their permission, attention permission for the next, I don't know, 10 seconds or whatever it is. So I've got to come with a hook after that. But I've given myself a little bit longer than the average person.
I love it. And you surely did catch our attention. Now, I'm going to ask you because I love the question. Now, to you, and Orly gave a perfect answer, but in your opinion, what does a 5 second rule mean to you?
Well, it means that people have so many different options these days that if I don't grab their interest pretty quickly, then they're going to say bye and go to the next thing. So, some people talk about the attention deficit or attention spans, that we've got the attention span of a goldfish. And, I'm kind of on this fence where I, people will sit and watch movies for 3 hours. So if they're interested in it, they'll focus their attention on it. So it's up to us as business owners, as speakers, as content creators to get attention permission from them so that they can continue listening to us.
So, Robert, I have to chime in on this goldfish thing. So, I said earlier that the average adult attention span is um, is 8 seconds, and
Yeah.
the average goldfish is 9 seconds. Just wanted to put that in perspective. Oh, so anyway, yeah. So should we go on to the next question here, Amalia, or did you want to keep? We can keep talking about this. This is fine too.
I would love to have Robert and Barbara Ann introduce themselves before moving forward, but I do want to acknowledge some of the comments and just the people tuning in live real quick. So I did see Leslie comment. She said, "This is the biggest problem my clients had over the last 16 years, lack of focus and concentration." So that was from Leslie Flowers. We do have a few people joining us. I did see Merle in the audience. Hi, Merle. Thank you so much for joining us. He is tuning in from Northern New Jersey.
So if I could, Amalia, I wanted to let me address what Leslie has put in here, because here's the thing: as the lack of focus and concentration, right, as that increases, it becomes harder and harder for each of us to stand out, right? And so that means that we also have to have less and less to say, but with the most impact. So, in other words, if you think about, when somebody meets you in online, let's say at a networking event, and you have exactly 15 seconds to say what you do, most people start telling them saying how you do something. How you do it and what you do, that's sales. What people are interested is why do people work with you and what is the transformation that they're getting from you? That's a lot harder. It's easy. All of us can say what we do and how we do it. But that is, again, if you think about in terms of what Robert was saying about having some kind of hook, that needs to be based on something real, and it's not about you. And I think that that's the hardest thing for people to realize, that when I ask about you, I'm actually not interested in you. I'm interested in how you can help me.
I love it. And then just a few shout outs and then we can move on. I'll let them to introduce themselves and we can move along with our next question. I do want to give a shout out. We have Corinne Keefe joining us. I do see we have Mark tuning in live. Hi, Mark. Barbara Ann, she's actually on stage with us. I do see your comment, but now we see you on stage. So I'm super excited to get to know you. All right, we do have Nikki. Nikki commented. She's tuning in live, so that's exciting. I see Melanie. Hi, Melanie. Melanie just had an event today, and she is amazing. She does her Impossible and just a few other events. So on Mondays, make sure you tune into Melanie. And then, of course, Meryl, I'm going to highlight your comment. He made a comment regarding, it skipped Meryl. My apologies, Meryl. Here we go. Meryl, he said, yes, Robert Kennedy intro theme music certainly caught my attention. So that was a shout out to you, Robert. And then we have Jay. He put, you have to be able to market yourself in order to have people more interested about you. It's like, tell me about yourself. And then we have our last comment before we move on. People are most often curious what you can do for them orally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, what I have discovered is that's the place you start. And then once you have someone's attention, what you want to look for is somebody to say, tell me more. When someone says, tell me more, it means that they actually are engaging. And that's very different from pitching, right? And really trying to sell somebody. These days, there's that saying, everybody loves to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. And I really believe that. It's really, you want to really start thinking about how do you get people to be curious, to want to learn more about you? And that usually means that tell me less, but tell me more with less.
I love it. So real quick, Orly, I'm going to put Barbara Ann in the spotlight. Barbara Ann, thank you so much for joining us on stage. Would you like to introduce yourself? And did you have a question for Orly or add to it, or are you just joining us on stage?
So I don't even know how I ended up on stage. So thank you. Nice to meet you. Orly's amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing what all of you have to say.
Nice to see you.
You too. And pet behind me. So, and hi, Mel. Love you, Mel. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself, Barbara Ann, Purposeful Solutions and Evolutions, longtime community economic and business development expert. So looking forward to hearing what y'all have to say. Thanks.
I love it. Well, the cool thing is this is an audio event, so you don't necessarily have to have your camera on, so that's always fun. And then if you want me to, I can just put you behind the stage to tune in. And if you want to join us back on stage, you can just let me know in the private chat.
Sure. I don't even know how to get to the regular chat. So
okay.
I feel like I'm becoming a distraction. So
no, you're fine.
Do whatever you like, whatever works best.
Okay, well, we appreciate you still for joining us. And hey, this is your time to stand out in a 5-second world, right?
Yeah.
No, that's right. That's all the time each of you gets 5 seconds. Forget the 15 minutes. That was years ago. Now you only get the 5 seconds. Hey, Christopher has joined us. Hey, Christopher.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Barbara. All right, so I'm gonna he went away. He popped up and then went away. My apologies.
Oh, he'll come back.
Okay. All right, Robert, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and then we can move on with today's topic.
Hey, I'm Robert Kennedy III. RK3 is what the cool people call me. I am the president of Kinetic Communications, a training firm here in Laurel, Maryland. And we work with business leaders, small business owners who want to communicate more confidently and tell their stories on stage or on video.
I love it. So I'm going to move you to the green room, and then you just let me know in the private chat if you'd like to join us on stage regarding any questions. But I'm going to highlight Orly and get this party started. All right. Well, thank you, Robert.
I'm here.
All right. All right. Orly, you are now in the spotlight. All right. So my next question to you, and we talked about what does a 5-second rule mean. But actually, let's talk about what does it look like when you get literally like fuzzy from clear? Like what does it look like when you get your fuzzy clear?
So in my world, what that means is you know who you are as a brand, but specifically what makes you different than your competition. So you know your value proposition and you understand, kind of what's unique about you that you're bringing to your brand. And then you understand who needs it, which is your ideal clients. People say, well, everyone needs this. No, actually not everyone. And not everyone, first of all, you don't have a marketing budget to market to the entire world. So usually it's a small segment of a group of people, but they have a shared problem. And so understanding who those people are, what that specific problem is, and how you solve that problem. Because when you try to talk to everyone, you connect with no one. So the more targeted you are on your ideal client and what keeps them up at night, the better it's going to be. And the easier it will be for you to stand out in a 5-second world.
Now, why is that important?
Why it's important is because you can't build a brand unless you've answered those three things, unless you really understand who you are. Because until you know who you are, it's really hard to convince someone else to buy from you. Like, how do you sell something that you yourself aren't clear about? And I always say that if you find yourself explaining what you do, that's selling. When you lead with a solution that solves your ideal client's real problem, it's about engaging. And the goal, as I said earlier, is to make someone curious so they want to know more. And that's where the elevator pitch comes in. So I know the elevator pitch often gets a bad rap, but for me, the elevator pitch, the building of the elevator pitch is really how you get that level of clarity. When you do it right, you understand the problem you solve, the benefit people get, and the desired result, right? The transformation. So the formula is I solve a problem by providing a benefit to help my ideal client or customer accomplish a desired result. So so that's why it's important to clarify, because you can't get clear on who you are if you don't understand also who needs it and what they get.
Now, what are the benefits you'll see as a result for them clarifying their brand?
So the main thing is you're going to start attracting more of your ideal clients and less tire kickers, or looky-loos, as they're sometimes referred to. And so the other piece of that is that your messaging now is going to focus on how you help me, and it's no longer about the what and the how. Because the what and the how is only relevant when someone is ready to work with you. That's when I want to know about how you do it and what you do. But in order for me to connect with you in that first kind of, to be able to even have a conversation, because remember, the goal is just to engage, to connect, to start a conversation. So when you get clear, then you're able to connect with your ideal prospects. And remember, it's all about with them, right? What's in it for me? Because people, people don't care until they know that you care. That's, you have to show that. And so what I have learned is that the main benefit is, first of all, you're able to stand in your zone of genius. And once you also are clear on that, on the thing that you're really giving that adds value, it's then easier to charge your the value of what you bring. So pricing becomes also a much easier conversation because you're not trying to convince someone, right? When I believe that when we are clear about who we are and the value we bring, people are willing to pay for that value.
I love it. I'm going to stop right here. And Robert, I'm going to ask you to join us back on stage because I really would love to just kind of settle into the topic of branding. And you know what, Barbara, you don't have to turn on your camera, but just in case you want to add to the conversation too, I'm going to bring you back as well. And I feel like it's really important because even with us being on LinkedIn, branding is very important. A lot of us here either have a business or we're marketing ourselves in some type of way. And I would love to kind of like shift gears since we are live on LinkedIn and really talk about just the profile or your branding, like some things on LinkedIn, how you can make your fuzzy clear. Like, what are some things on your profile? If anyone's tuning in and you want to give your input on branding and some things that people should have, I would love to take this moment to just to really chime in on just clarifying your branding and what is good branding, if that's okay with you, Orly.
Oh, absolutely. If I could, can I throw out a couple of suggestions in terms of your LinkedIn? Because I was saying earlier that the 5 seconds is how much time somebody typically spends looking at the very top of your profile, which I call the identity section of your profile, which is the banner, your headshot, and your title or headline, or which is really, those are the three things they see. And typically they look for the headline. I mean, hopefully you have, a decent photo, a headshot, so we don't need to spend a lot of time there. But what I find is that often there are a lot of generic terms being used. Like I really would stay away from terms like coach, consultant, anything that's overused and has lost any meaning. Again, focus on how you're helping somebody. So just to give an example, on mine, it's all about, being able to turn your fuzzy not just into clear messaging, but also helping people to find you and remember you. Because ultimately, if they can't remember you, if they can't find you, they can't remember you. If they can't remember you, they can't refer you. And they certainly can't buy you if they're not able to see you, right? So, and remember, I mean, there's like something like 1 billion people on the platform right now, about 300 and something, 300 plus monthly users, but 1 billion altogether. And of those users, of the monthly users, the active monthly users, 4 out of 5 of them are decision makers. So you're literally in front of people who have the power to make a decision. So you want to really attract them. Yeah, I know. Every time I check, it goes up, but that's the latest I heard was it's 1 billion. Yeah, I mean, they're not all on there all the time, but that's how many. I think there's 1.5 billion on YouTube, just to give you more numbers.
I love it. And I would say even what people are doing right now to really stand out. Like I love how you covered just LinkedIn and standing out, but right now as people are commenting, you are now being visible in our event, in our replays, and people
Right.
can see you. You are now standing out. So this is another form of branding and putting yourself out there and making yourself visible by just showing up and actually engaging with these events. Now, I would love, Orly, to pass the mic to Robert. Would you like to chime in on just what you think is needed for standing out or just some things that really helped you stand out? I know you speak. I think you mentioned that you if it's okay for me to mention the huge sports team that you got an opportunity to speak for. Is it okay
Yeah.
for me to mention
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you were a speaker for the Baltimore Ravens, right?
Yes.
So you had to put yourself out there. You had to clear up that fuzziness with your branding for them to want to choose you. So we'll love to hear from you just your insights and what's needed and things like that that helped you too.
Yeah. So I think the biggest word for me is really consistency. So what happens is people they have a brand and they change the brand quite frequently, or they're not consistent with their brand. And something as simple as, okay, I've got a headshot on LinkedIn that looks one way and then I show up and I'm totally different, right? I'm on LinkedIn, I'm bald and I come and I've got three but I've got this full afro on my head and no beard, and people are like, okay, there's dissonance there. They're not making the connection. So even my video, my what I post, the colors that I might use consistently, that's a part of consistency with my brand, especially once people get to know you a little bit, they become familiar. It's like Coca-Cola deciding they were going to change to purple all of a sudden, right? And you wouldn't recognize it in the same way. So it's helpful to be consistent with simple visual cues as well.
No, I agree. And for those that know me, my colors, I am black and yellow everything. When you see me, you'll see my colors or my jersey, or a mic. Is
Yeah.
very clear that I love audio events and podcasting. So I agree. Now, for those that, oh, I see Orly. She said, good to see you, Liz. She gave you a shout out.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to, I guess I can't really post in the chat, so I thought I would just try it in the private chat.
Nope, you've got to open another window.
Do I?
Yep. A LinkedIn window. This is
Ah,
we're on Restream on the back end.
got it. Amalia, are you there?
Well, you know what?
Hello?
I w-
Oh,
I was talking and it muted. I didn't. My
I know.
apologies.
I'm like, what happened? Uh-oh.
The funny thing is, I was also talking to you, Robert. Oh, how I love technology. No, I was saying it's so much easier to just give them the live shout out, especially if you don't want to utilize the two windows and deal with the text. So feel
Yeah.
free if you want to. You can always, give the shout out if you like. And I was going to say to you, Robert, what is one thing about your branding that you think stands out? What is something that you do? What should we know you for?
Well, if I'm just talking about the visual, pretty much if you see me online, you'll see something blue and something orange. And so my microphone has an orange cover. The lights in my background, if you're seeing the video, there's blue and orange there. Our brand colors are blue and orange, and we've done some color psychology testing for that. So from a visual perspective, at the very minimum, that those are some of the colors that you'll see.
Okay, nice. Orly, question to you. What do you think is the biggest thing that stand out regarding your branding?
Well, making fuzzy clear has kind of become my catchphrase, and I started using that about, I want to say about 6 or 8 months ago. And I don't know, it's sort of, it's again, the idea is not to explain everything, but just to have somebody go, huh, tell me about that. I don't know, right? So about curiosity. I also have started to really rethink my banner, and usually my evergreen banner is a pair of something that's out of focus, like an eye chart with glasses, and then the tagline is, focus your brand, because a part of what I do is I help you get focused on your brand, help you clarify your brand. So making sure that images also are the same images that I'm using on my website. So if you go to my website, which is Zeewy Brands, if you go there and you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of I'm using the same logo, I'm using the same, I have my brand colors, and I have a lot of the same focus that I have in my LinkedIn. So one of the things that's really important is to make sure that whatever you're doing on LinkedIn is also mirrored in some way on your website, so that they look like they're part of the family. So you want to make sure that your website doesn't feel like something completely different. And so that's how I've really spent a lot of time thinking about the right images that are portraying this idea of making fuzzy clear.
I love it, and I actually see Barbara Ann, we got a background now, so is this is this part of your branding?
It is. And so, similarly to some of the things that were suggested, and for whatever reason, my green screen isn't being detected on this system, we try to use every bit of our space as part of our branding. Our colors were very specifically selected for the coaching and training community in terms of greens. And we also explored to make sure that our colors didn't interfere with things like ADA requirements around like colorblind and other sensitivities. So everything that we do, it's focused around the compass. 8 years ago, I came up with the idea for Solutions Navigator. And everything we do talks about helping people navigate their feelings, mapping their way to success. It's very much about partnering with them on their journey, whether we're serving in a consulting or a coaching or a training capacity. And we all use standardized backgrounds, and we have like identified color palettes in Canva and other systems that we use. And our website is the same types of colors. So definitely a very specific theme. I'm not going to pretend that my LinkedIn is the best because I tend to be very verbose, in case you haven't figured that out. But even the banners on all our social media are very coordinated. And my banner on my LinkedIn very purposefully, because it serves dual purposes, it leads into what we do, which is all transformation starts the same with a choice. And then it has little teeny pictures of all the different entities that we partner with or affiliate with. So we try and capitalize on that very limited attention span everywhere we go and how we present ourselves.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. Orly, did you have anything you want to add to that? I love the fact that they are cautious regarding colors for the colorblind.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've not thought about that. So, but that makes sense. I will say one thing that, people talk about it. This is where I kind of differ a little bit. I talk about brand, not branding. Branding is about the colors, the logo, the tagline. But brand is really about the experience. And the definition of brand is that it's an experience that people who when they interact with your brand, and they do this over various platforms and over time. And the over time is very important, because over time is how we then get an image or an idea, a sense of what is that brand experience. And the goal is for that brand experience to be consistent across platforms and across time.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because our overarching vision and brand goal is that everyone that interacts with us feels seen, heard, valued, and validated to become their version of extraordinary,
Oh, I
or
love
their
that.
vision of extraordinary. And so in addition to the colors, all of our interactions are very much coaching infused, and we really try with all our social media posts, with our interactions, with any engagements that we have, and even the podcast, everything is really focused on that vision of helping people feel seen, heard, valued, and validated to be their version of extraordinary. So thank you for mentioning that, because that's a really important part of who we are as well.
Yeah, and people tend to spend a lot of time on the colors, and the thing about colors, and I mean, I've actually done a lot of presentations around the meaning of colors. And you know color is of course very important, but it also has to be authentic to your brand experience. So the fact that you're very conscious of people who are colorblind, I think that's a story. I would love to know more about that. I feel like that could be really part of your experience, because the fact that you are thinking about that speaks to the inclusivity piece of your brand experience.
Yeah, thank you. And it was very deliberate, because, so much of our work is around recognizing that everybody is perfectly made or created, depending on what their belief system is, and is here for a purpose. And so if we're going to be consistent in our language and our actions, we have really tried, to the extent possible. One of my team members put a lot of effort into making sure that our site was ADA compatible and could be read properly by vision impaired readers, and other things like that. It's still a work in progress, but we really want to be, as even though it's now considered a bad word, as inclusive and welcoming as possible to everybody. So it really was a conscious choice, and shout out to my team member Ariel, who has participated in multiple audits to make sure that our color spectrum, as well as our presentation and everything that we do, is as accessible as possible, recognizing that we still would like to do more with language translation, but we're not there yet.
Right. So actually, this sort of is a nice segue into the last question, which has to do with your homepage. Is it all right if we talk about that, Amelia?
Absolutely. So our last question is, what are 2 questions that your homepage should answer?
So I know it's going to sound really simplistic, but basically it's this: why am I here and why should I care? And the why am I here is very important, because especially if I've never heard of you, or maybe someone referred me to you, or somehow I ended up on your homepage. And what people tend to do, and I see this all the time, so when I work with clients, I really look at the user experience and try to help them look at it from the perspective of the visitor. Again, it's not about selling you on the front, on the homepage, on the landing page. And I see this a lot, where immediately I land on the page and I'm being asked to sign up for a call. I'm being asked to, sign up for a webinar, or, there's all this stuff, contact me, there's a lot of, it just feels like it's very salesy. And I don't even know why I'm here yet, right? You need to think about, when I land on your homepage, I just want to know why I'm here. And the why I should care is really, do I see something here that makes me feel like either you get me or you get somebody I know who could use your services? And that's not about selling. It's about engaging, starting a conversation. And so less is definitely more. I see way too much text on homepages. And I also see very much inwardly focused as opposed to outwardly focused. So even though it is your website, ultimately it's not about you. It's about how you help your clients either sleep better at night or have, a different experience as a result of working with you. I love this. I love this quote by President Teddy Roosevelt, who famously said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Have we lost you again, Amalia? Are you still there? Oh, hello?
Amalia's talking to herself in the background
I
again.
think she is, yeah. Oh, there, are you back? Are you back?
Yeah, it froze. I don't know why I'm having so many tech glitches today. No, it froze
Fine.
on me. My apologies, but no, I
Yeah.
love it. And my question too, because I love the fact that, and I want to circle back, you mentioned that branding is not just about color. When people think about branding, Orly, like, what should be the main, like, key things or key features, or or key aspects should they consider? Because I know even a lot of people say, get this together before you even think about a logo or even think about colors. What are the
Yeah.
most important things that people should do first when it comes to branding?
So, and again, this is my thing is, I talk about brand specifically for that reason, because when people talk about branding, they're talking about color and logo and all that. What happens is a lot of people go to logo first because it's quote unquote fun to do this, right? But the problem with that is a logo is shorthand for your brand. If you think about, Nike, the swoosh, which is actually a section of the wing of the goddess of victory, which is what Nike is. Nike is actually the goddess of victory in Greek mythology. And so when you see that, we've now seen enough commercials, and of course they've spent millions of dollars to making sure that, of course, we know what it stands for, that, we see it, but what we see there is the whole experience of their products, of their ads, of their spots on the Super Bowl, what have you. For smaller, for in the B2B space, and especially for solopreneurs and smaller companies, the logo often is just something people put together thinking, well, it's just this mark, it's just this symbol, right? But if it doesn't have, what's behind it, which is what's the user experience, who are your clients, what do they get, like all the things that I work on with my clients when we develop your elevator pitch, and when we really think about your LinkedIn profile or your homepage, it's, you need to understand the value that you bring. That's why we start with the value prop. What is the thing that makes you unique? Are you able to stand in that place and really own it and be able to operate from that place? Once you really get it and understand it, then you can start thinking about a logo to represent it. The problem is that often people develop a logo, or they'll get a logo stand-in before they really understand what the logo represents. And so inevitably they have to redo it. So I typically suggest, especially it's a startups, don't focus on the logo, focus on the name and focus on your value prop.
I love that. And I realize a lot of people actually start trying to build a brand before they even have anything to offer. And I love the fact that you circle back to the worth of it. And I think people don't even, like, I've seen people not even have offering a service, don't even really fully understand their niche, don't
Right.
even know who their audience is going to be, but then kind of get so caught up in the branding, and then they wonder why they're not growing because they don't have any substance to the brand.
If you think about it this way, even though, and I'm not trying to minimize the role of a logo, because, and by the way, a successful logo should last you a minimum of 20 years. Most people, when they do a logo, they'll go to Fiverr, or they'll, use somebody, just throw something together, or they'll do it themselves. And nothing against people DIY, but DIY, but I think the issue here is that they don't really understand what it stands for. And so it's hard work to figure out who you are as a person. And it's even harder to figure out who you are as a brand and what is the experience. It's almost like, you're building a house, and you're decorating the living room before you have a foundation.
I love that analogy. Now, Orly, we are getting close to the hour mark, so I am going to allow our guests on stage. If you have any closing remarks you think you want to add to the conversation, I'm going to also put your QR code. So for those who are new to you, because this is about standing out, this whole event is about standing out. So, Robert, this is your chance. If you want to add anything additional to today's topic, or you would like to let our community know where they can find you moving forward, we do have your QR code where they can connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you for that opportunity. Yeah, I love the conversation about understanding the experience first before you think about logo and colors and website and all of that. And that is so true. I believe that one as we went through our process, one of the reasons that we ended up at the colors that we did was because we wanted to people to have a specific experience as a speaker or a facilitator. When I'm on stage, I want people to have a specific experience. When I'm meeting them in the halls, I want them to have a specific experience. And so every time I look at our colors, it not only is something that is for the client or the prospect, but it's a reminder to me as well about the promise that we're making through the brand that we're building from a visual perspective. So I love the synchronicity of that conversation.
Well,
Thank you,
thank
Robert.
you. Go ahead, Orly. My apologies. There a delay. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no, no. I was just going to say thank you, Robert. Actually, one thing I haven't mentioned is the meaning of the purple that I use in my brand, in my branding. And that's because purple is the color of leadership. And it also was a very rare color. I actually, because I've done all this work and all this research on color, I can tell you where that original color came from. A crustacean in the Mediterranean thousands of years ago, and it would take one, and you could only get one drop of the purple dye from that crustacean, and so that purple became the color of royalty and of high priests because they were the only ones who could afford to have that color. So that's why I use it, because it's also the color of leadership, of experts, and so that's so I'm totally with you about the meaning of color. So I didn't mean to suggest that color is not important, but I came to that after I really thought about, what was the experience that I was trying to build as well.
Fully agreed. I didn't take it that you were disagreeing or that you were minimizing. I was pointing out the prioritization or the steps that you were leaning towards with regard to really thinking and being intentional about the experience and the problem that you want to solve before saying, "Hey, I want a B and a G and a purple in my logo," before you've created the experience. So kudos, I'm with you.
Great. Thank you for that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Robert. I appreciate you. All right. I am going to put Barbara Ann in the spotlight. And for those of you that are not connected with Barbara Ann, her QR code is on the screen. Barbara Ann, would you like to add any final remarks for today's event and let us know more about what you have going on and if they want to connect with you before Orly and I go into her bonuses and cool things she have available?
Sure. Thank you for allowing me to crash the party because it really wasn't intended. We do actually have a couple of different things coming up. An event that we're having on March 1st, focusing on how to navigate, adapt, and thrive in a changing world. We're trying to make it as accessible as possible, so we're only charging $5. It's part of a series that we do because my background, having worked in the federal government and adjacent to it many years, and some other speaking engagements. Would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn or visit our website for more information about some of the things we have coming up and what we have to offer. Thank you.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining us. So I'm going to put you and Robert back behind stage, and I'm going to spotlight you, Orly, so you can let us know everything you have going on. And for those that tune into Monday Night Coaching, you know that we have something special that we like to offer all of our listeners, our VIP listeners, and that is a bonus. So if you were to attend an event with us, you know for a fact that there is a bonus that you'll get at the end of all of our events. So I'm going to allow you, Orly, to give your closing remarks. And if you want to just have like a quick summary to wrap up for those that may tune in late. And then I'm going to leave your bonus on screen so that way they can have a chance to scan it. And then you can talk more about your bonus as well.
Okay, and then I have some other things to put up there after that. But the three things I'd like to leave you with first, before you build or update your website, consider, do you know who needs what you do? Like I think that's the first place, is really understanding who that person is. So when you build your site or when you update it, or, it's not just about a design shift. It's really about making sure that your content speaks to that person. So almost thinking of speaking to one person versus trying to speak to everyone. And then, as I said earlier, making sure that you know what's really keeping them up at night, how you're solving their problem. And finally, remember that it is not about you. It's always about them and how you're helping them. So my personal brand tips include articles, links to articles and interviews I've done on various topics. And so feel free to download that. Also, if you I want to mention my March 11 webinar, which is really about how to attract the people that really want what you offer. And that's it's a 1 hour on building an elevator pitch that's both memorable and actionable. And so would love to see some of you guys there. And then there's the copy of my book, Ready Launch Brand. I mentioned that came out in 2021. So there's a QR code if you want to learn more about it or purchase it. And we'll also ask it, if you do purchase it and you find value in it, would love for you to add your reviews on Amazon. And then finally, I also am offering a 1 hour clarity session. So please consider booking time with me. And that the hour is really spent on either looking at your LinkedIn profile and coming up with, kind of in real time, looking at your headline and making sure that it's really speaking to your ideal client. And then also, or we can take that time and look at your homepage. So that's where the 1 hour clarity would be used for. And then I think that's about, and then the last thing is that if you want to check out my website, that's Zeewy Brands, which I don't think you have that up there, but you can find that on my LinkedIn. So the best thing is just to get on LinkedIn, and all my information is there. And that's it, I think. Oh, one last thing about my webinar, that if you're one of the first 5 people to sign up, I'm going to be selecting one person for a personal pitch makeover during my my webinar. So if you're one of the first 5 people, I will pick one of you to do a pitch makeover.
And the cool thing is, if you were to scan the QR code, I'm gonna do it right now, she can see it. So it makes it even fun if we want to see those 5 individuals from today's event. Start scanning the code. Can you see it at the top, Orly?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
I did see it scroll earlier, so that's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really, these, when the tools work, they are really fun. But anyway, I don't know if anyone has any last questions, thoughts. If you need me to expand on anything else, or please feel free to reach out. Happy to respond to you if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn.
I love it. And I just want to give just a few more shout outs for those attending. As always, thank you so much, Muriel, for joining us. Just kind of bring up some of these comments. Dr. Marcia, thank you for tuning in live. We have Felipe. We appreciate you joining us today. I always get excited when I see Christy join us. So thank you so much, Christy, for joining us. As well as, like we talked about, these are great opportunities for visibility as the host starts highlighting these comments for you guys. We do have Corinne Keefe. Thank you so much for joining us. Brenda Miller, as always. I feel like her and Christopher Johnson, we're from Metro Detroit, so I always get excited when my fellow Detroiters join the chat. And Robert, of course, thank you so much for joining us live on stage. Same thing to Barbara Ann. I see Liz. I think you were trying to give Liz a shout out too, right, Orly?
I was, and I gave her a shout out on LinkedIn. So I forgot that I have to go to LinkedIn to engage in the chat. So
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. And then we have Curtis. Thank you for joining us. And then we have Lisa. It's a few. And then we have Jay. So we had a lot of engagement today. So that's exciting. We had Jay tuning in live,
Mhm.
Melanie Richards. So we just want to say thank you. And it's paired. So it's giving us both of our chats. So I'm really excited. It just makes life a little easier. And of course, for those from the beginning, I do want to say thank you, Nikki, for tuning in, as well as Leslie Flowers. Barbara, I'm just going to highlight you. Thank you so much. You went from the comments to on stage. So we're really happy to have you. And then Mark. So I think I covered everyone. All right. And lastly, I do want to say for those of you that are tuning in, there are a few things I want to highlight as well. If you enjoyed today's event and want to get alerts live to your email so you won't forget, we also have direct links to all of our bonuses. And then if you want to join me on stage, it's also a link to collaborate with me. I would say definitely join our VIP listeners list. So that's the QR code here. And then I started something new, a new project. I love it because Robert, as well as Orly, are now a part of this new venture of mine. It is called the Audio Leadership Club. And I would just love to hear your feedback, Orly, so far of your feedback from the club, just from joining, because you're brand new.
Yeah, no, I attended the I guess it was last week? I can't remember now. The days are all melding. I can't believe it's only Monday. It feels like Friday already. But I want to just give you a shout out in terms of just the way the community is very not just engaged but very welcoming and just very gracious. And I've already gotten to know some people. I've already got I'm connecting with a few people. So it's really, it's been a great experience so far. I'm looking forward to getting more involved.
I love it. And of course, for those that are new to the Audio Leadership Club, we are a collaborative space of leaders who are, I should say, Orly, we're kind of like the support. I don't even know the word now. Like I'm so emotional right now when I say, to think that I started this a month ago and we already have 49 members. When I posted the events, we had like 20 events from members, and the fact that we are supporting one another, joining one another's stage, streaming one another's events, it's just a really good feeling to have a community that really just is the culture that I had in mind, and to see it come to life is just overwhelming. So I just want to thank all my members. 'Cause I do see a few of my members here with me. I see Dr. Marcia and a few others. So I just want to say thank you so much. But I don't want to take up too much of time talking about that. I do want to put your bonus back on screen, as well as your 1 hour clarity session to give people more time to scan it. And then we can close out today's event. I want to say thank you so much for joining me and giving us so much advice and insights on how to stand out in branding and making fuzzy clear.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Amalia. I really enjoyed the conversation and hearing people's comments, and look forward to connecting with some of you on LinkedIn, and hope to see some of you at my March 11th webinar. Would love to have you there.
For those of you that were tuning in on a mobile device or a tablet that is not able to scan the QR codes, we will make sure we have all of these links available in the chat after this event. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We wish you a great rest of your day, evening, depending on your time zone. Orly, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Amalia.